Wisconsin Attorney General Josh Kaul is involved in the investigation into the police shooting of Jacob Blake in Kenosha. He joins us now from Madison, Wisconsin. Good to see you, Attorney General Kaul. What can you tell us about the investigation?
Well, thanks for having me on, Gail. This is an ongoing investigation. In Wisconsin, we have an independent agency conducting this investigation so that the agency that the officer works for is not involved in the investigation. We're that independent agency in this case, and the investigation is moving forward swiftly but consistently with protecting the integrity of the investigation. So over 80 witnesses have been interviewed, over 100 pieces of evidence have been collected, and the investigation continues to move forward.
I was going to ask you about witnesses and evidence, and you just answered that. Does any of the evidence show that Jacob Blake was holding a knife at the time that he was shot?
We're only releasing certain information at this point in time so we can protect the integrity of the investigation. We've released information indicating that a knife was recovered from the driver's side floorboard and that Mr. Blake acknowledged that he was in possession of a knife. There were also no other weapons that were recovered from the scene. That's the information we've released this far.
Okay, can you tell us, Attorney General Kaul, why the police were called to the scene to begin with? I've heard conflicting reports about that.
They were called for a report that there was a person on the premises, the boyfriend of the caller, who was not supposed to be there and wasn't leaving, and so police were responding to that call.
And was the boyfriend Jacob Blake?
We're not commenting on that detail at this time. It's important as we proceed with this investigation that we not prejudge any facts so that we collect the entirety of the evidence in this case, present it to a prosecutor who will make an independent prosecutorial decision, and if a charge is brought, that the jury makes the key findings of fact in this case.
You know, the Blake family, as you've heard, is asking that the officer, Rustin Chusky, be arrested and charged. What do you need to see to bring charges against the officer?
The charging decision in this case will be made by a prosecutor. Our office conducts the independent investigation, but the standard for the use of deadly or potentially deadly force is if the officer reasonably believed that the person against whom force was used was an imminent threat to the life or to cause serious bodily harm to another. We want to gather the evidence as fully and fairly, but also as swiftly consistent with that as possible so that a charging decision can be made as quickly as possible in this case.
You were one of the officials that asked President Trump not to come, along with the governor and the mayor of Kenosha. But a lot of people were very glad to see the president. His critics are calling it a photo op. Others say it inflamed tensions there. What do you say about the president's visit?
Well, the situation on the ground in Kenosha had been improving significantly over the past several days. And having the president come brought more attention to that situation. We also, unfortunately, didn't hear any condemnation of vigilante violence. And as the clip that you played earlier indicated, there was nothing from the president about how we can work together to address systemic racism.
Yeah, you talk about vigilante. Let's talk about that for a second with Kyle Rittenhouse. There is a tape that has just been released by his attorney where Kyle was asked if he wanted to thank his fans, which I think is an interesting choice considering 3 people were shot and 2 are dead. And he's thanked them for overwhelming support. But does he have a case for self-defense? His attorney says this is a watershed moment. Is there a case for self-defense here?
Yeah, that's a case that's being prosecuted by the Kenosha DA and not my office. But what I will say is that our leaders need to work to heal our communities, to bring people together, to call for justice, and refusing to condemn vigilante violence, whether it's in Charlottesville or in Kenosha, is unacceptable from our leaders. And so I'm hoping we will finally hear a clear condemnation of that violence from President Trump.
All right, Attorney General Kaul, thank you very much for your time today.